The letter that never came. Before we begin tonight's story, I want you to think about something you might be waiting for. A message, a change, an answer that hasn't arrived yet. What if waiting isn't empty? What if it's quietly shaping you into someone stronger, softer, wiser? If you enjoy calm stories that help you slow down, breathe deeper, and fall asleep peacefully, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this channel with someone who might need a little quiet tonight. Now, let's begin. In the small coastal town of Harbor Ridge, mornings arrived slowly. The sun did not rush here. The wind did not hurry. Even the gulls seemed to glide rather than flap. Clara Whitmore stood behind the front desk of the Harbor Ridge Public Library, gently aligning a stack of returned books. She liked mornings best. Mornings felt full of possibility, and for the past 3 months, she had been waiting. Every day at 10:17 a.m., the mail truck rolled down Maple Street. Every day at 10:19 a.m., it stopped outside the library. Every day at 10:20 a.m., Clara pretended not to look up, but she always did, because she was waiting for a letter. The letter. It wasn't just any letter. It was from New York, from a publishing house, from a life that might be different. 6 months ago, Clara had mailed something fragile into the world, a manuscript she had worked on quietly for years. She never told anyone, not her coworkers, not her father, not even Mrs. Daly, who had known her since she was 10. It was a collection of essays about ordinary moments, about waiting rooms, about train platforms, about sitting beside hospital beds, about the slow turning of seasons. She had titled it The Art of Waiting, and then she had waited. The mail truck engine hummed outside. Clara's fingers paused mid-page as she stamped a due date inside a hardcover mystery novel. The door chimed softly. Mr. Harlan, the town's retired mechanic, shuffled in with his usual morning newspaper. Behind him, the mail carrier stepped inside with a canvas bag slung over one shoulder. "Morning, Clara," he said cheerfully. "Morning," she replied, steady and calm. Clara. Subtle, controlled breathing, hazel eyes steady but flickering with hidden anticipation, posture composed, though fingers lightly tighten against the desk edge. He sorted through envelopes, bills, catalogs, a postcard from Florida. No thick cream envelope, no return address from Manhattan, just the usual stack of ordinary mail. "See you tomorrow," he said. And just like that, another day of waiting. Clara did not collapse when the letter failed to arrive. She did not sigh dramatically. She simply folded the moment inward, the way she had learned to do with so many things. Waiting, she believed, was not dramatic. It was quiet. It was brushing crumbs from the counter. It was shelving books alphabetically. It was watching the clock without appearing to watch it. That afternoon, she walked home along Harbor Ridge's narrow sidewalks. The air smelled faintly of salt and cedar. Across the street, the old train station sat still, its wooden benches faded from decades of sun. People used to wait there once, for departures, for returns, for reunions. Now only one train stopped each evening. Clara sometimes stood there at dusk, not because she expected someone, but because she understood what it meant to wait beside tracks that stretched farther than you could see. 3 months ago, when she mailed her manuscript, she had walked to the post office in the rain. Her fingers trembled slightly as she handed it over. The clerk weighed the package.
"That's going somewhere important," he joked. Clara smiled softly. It wasn't the acceptance she feared, it was the silence. Because silence stretches, silence echoes, silence makes you question whether your voice ever mattered at all. Days turn, weeks passed, winter loosened its grip. The harbor ice melted into shifting gray water. Children rode bikes again. The library windows stayed open longer. And still, Clara waited. But something unexpected began happening. The waiting changed her. She noticed details she once rushed past. The way Mrs. Daly lingered at the poetry shelf, tracing titles with trembling fingers. The way Mr. Harlan folded his newspaper carefully before leaving, as if preserving something sacred. The way the train conductor removed his hat when stepping onto the platform, even when no one waited there. Waiting made her observe. Waiting made her present. The evening platform. One evening, Clara walked to the station just before sunset. The sky melted into lavender and pale gold. The single train approached slowly, headlights glowing like distant stars. She stood at the edge of the platform. The train stopped. Doors opened. A young couple stepped off, laughing quietly. An elderly woman boarded, assisted gently by the conductor. Then the doors closed. The train departed, and Clara remained. She realized something then. Waiting was not about the letter anymore. Waiting was about becoming someone who could handle whatever that letter might say. A different kind of arrival. The next morning, at 10:17 a.m., the mail truck returned. At 10:19 a.m., it stopped. At 10:20 a.m., Clara looked up. The mail carrier stepped inside, slightly winded. "Almost forgot this one," he said, pulling a cream envelope from his bag. Clara's heartbeat slowed instead of quickened. She is composed now, hazel eyes steady, shoulders relaxed, fingers open instead of clenched. The envelope was addressed in formal print, New York. She held it. She did not open it immediately. Instead, she placed it gently on the desk, finished assisting Mr. Harlan, returned 2 phone calls, watered the small fern near the window, waiting even now, because she understood something she hadn't before. The outcome mattered less than the person she had become while waiting. Closing scene. That evening, she sat at her kitchen table. Soft lamplight, window cracked open to the sound of distant waves. The envelope rested before her. She ran her finger along the seal. Then she opened it, and whether it contained acceptance or rejection, what mattered most was this: she was no longer afraid of silence, because waiting had taught her patience, and patience had taught her strength, and strength had quietly become her companion. Outside, the tide rolled in, steady, unhurried, certain, and Clara Whitmore smiled softly, not because she had stopped waiting, but because she had learned how to wait well. The letter opened and a visitor arrives. Morning light and quiet courage. The day began as Harbor Ridge always did, soft, unhurried, and almost hesitant to intrude upon the calm. Clara Whitmore moved through her library with the practiced precision of someone who had learned the art of patience well. Today, however, a subtle tension lingered in the air. The envelope from New York, cream and crisp, rested gently on the desk before her. For 3 months, it had been a silent companion, a symbol of hope, anxiety, and the unknown. She stared at it for a moment, inhaling softly, the quiet library amplifying her heartbeat. Each second felt stretched, elongated, as though the envelope itself was commanding time to slow. Finally, with careful hands, she broke the seal. The letter inside. The folded sheet of paper smelled faintly of old ink and faint cedarwood from the envelope lining. Clara unfolded it delicately. The handwriting was elegant, professional, yet warm. Dear Miss Whitmore, your manuscript, The Art of Waiting, has touched our hearts. We find your reflections on patience and the quiet moments of life to be deeply moving. We would like to offer you a meeting to discuss publication and next steps. Please let us know your availability to visit our office, or we can arrange a personal visit to Harbor Ridge. Her hands trembled slightly, not with fear, but with the recognition that waiting had led to this moment. Every quiet day, every small observation of life, every practice of patience had carried her here.
She set the letter down and closed her eyes for a moment. Relief, joy, and an unexpected calm washed over her. The waiting, she realized, had been preparation. Arrival of the visitor. The town had its usual rhythm, mail, wind, and distant gulls, but today it would be slightly altered. A car, unfamiliar to Harbor Ridge, approached along the cobblestone street. Its tires whispered over the stones, announcing the presence of someone new. Evan Porter stepped out. He paused in front of the library, taking in the small-town charm. The building itself seemed almost timeless, with its wooden panels and large windows catching the morning sun. He adjusted the strap of his leather satchel and stepped inside. First encounter. "Good morning," Evan said softly, his voice carrying warmth without intrusion. "Good morning," Clara replied, her calm tone belying the flutter of excitement inside. She motioned to the envelope. "I received your letter." He smiled faintly. "I imagine it was a moment worth savoring." Evan paused, his posture relaxed but attentive, hands loosely folded in front of him, blue eyes steady yet observant, a subtle warmth radiating approachability. They sat across from each other at the small reading table, a faint breeze lifting the edges of papers nearby. Clara handed him the manuscript, now a tangible bridge between them, between patience and opportunity. Evan read with quiet intensity, his fingers gently tracing the corners of pages. "Your writing, it's remarkably intimate. It doesn't rush. You make waiting feel like an art form." Clara nodded, remembering the months of quiet observation, the afternoons at the train platform, the evenings counting dust motes in sunlight. Waiting isn't usually celebrated. People think it's passive, but it changes you. "You're right. It's the very patience you describe that makes your work extraordinary." A quiet camaraderie formed between them, the kind that doesn't need words to affirm mutual respect. Lunch break along the harbor. After their discussion, Clara suggested a walk to the harbor. The salty air mixed with the warmth of mid-morning sun, and the waves whispered against the wooden pier. Clara, carrying a small tote, walked beside Evan. They passed familiar townsfolk, exchanging gentle nods and smiles. The town seemed unchanged, but now imbued with a subtle tension of expectation. "I've never been to Harbor Ridge before," Evan admitted, "but it feels alive in its stillness." Clara smiled softly. "That's the thing about waiting. You notice life in the quietest moments." Afternoon conversations and observations. Back at the library, they returned to the desk. Clara shared stories about townspeople, subtle observations she'd made while waiting for the manuscript reply. Evan listened intently, occasionally jotting notes on a small pad. He laughed quietly at her description of Mrs. Daly's poetry shelf habits. "You notice everything," he said. "I have to, otherwise I'd miss the lessons hidden in small things." Evan, leaning back slightly, light smile, reflective blue eyes attentive, hands resting on the pad, occasional nods signaling deep engagement. The interaction was slow, deliberate, and careful, like reading an intricate pattern in a tapestry, appreciating the weave without rushing. Evening, reflective quiet. As sunset painted Harbor Ridge in muted lavender and gold, Clara walked Evan to the small cobblestone path leading back toward the car. The sky was a quiet canvas, reflecting the emotional texture of the day. "Thank you," Clara said, "for understanding the work and for the patience to listen." "You're welcome," gently, "and thank you for showing me what patience looks like in practice." A silence lingered, comfortable and unforced, the kind that doesn't demand words, only acknowledgement of shared human experience. Night, the letter rested again. Clara returned to her home later that evening, the envelope from New York now resting in a small wooden box on her desk, not as a symbol of anxiety, but of transformation. She understood that waiting was not about the destination, it was about growth along the journey. Outside, the tide moved with steady rhythm, unhurried and eternal. and Clara Whitmore, once anxious and uncertain, now felt a quiet strength. Waiting had taught her patience, patience had taught her grace, and grace had quietly become her companion.
Conversations at dusk and new insights. Morning reflection. Clara Whitmore wakes early, carrying yesterday's letter in her mind, pondering Evan's feedback. She walks quietly to the library before sunrise. She reviews her manuscript again, noting subtle adjustments. The act of waiting has given her clarity she hadn't expected. Evan visits again. Evan arrives mid-morning, carrying additional notes, smiling gently. They discuss revisions, the art of storytelling, and how patience allows depth. Dialogue explores how Clara's small-town observations enrich her writing, emphasizing the power of quiet patience. Coastal walk and insights. After lunch, they walk along the pier discussing life lessons. Clara notices the ebb and flow of the tide as a metaphor for human endurance. Evan shares subtle life anecdotes, mentoring without intrusion. The dynamic grows, mutual respect, a budding emotional connection, but still restrained. Afternoon, observing town life. They visit familiar spots, local bakery, small harbor shops. Clara's patience shines as she listens to small stories from townspeople, Evan quietly noticing. Moments of subtle humor and reflection, blending mundane town life with introspective growth. Sunset conversation. Clara and Evan pause at the pier during sunset. Golden purple hues reflect on the water. They discuss the manuscript's central themes and the importance of waiting in life, blending personal experience with professional insight. Emotional beats, gentle laughter, meaningful silence, Clara's realization of growth and her deepening trust in Evan's guidance. Evening, lamplight desk scene. Back in the library, Clara writes notes and reflects. Evan departs, leaving her with a calm sense of closure for the day. Internal monologue emphasizes patience, emotional growth, and acceptance of timing. Clara places the manuscript in a safe drawer, ready to continue her work with renewed focus. Night, Harbor Ridge calm. Clara steps outside to feel the coastal night air. Moonlight glimmers on the water. The quiet symbolizes patience, growth, and readiness for the next step. Whispers of the harbor and subtle revelations. Morning at Harbor Ridge. Clara Whitmore woke to the soft gray light of early morning. The quiet streets seemed to hum with anticipation she didn't fully understand. The manuscript rested on her desk, still warm with yesterday's insights, and the memory of Evan Porter's arrival lingered like sunlight in her thoughts. Evan's arrival. Evan Porter arrived mid-morning. His blue eyes carried an inquisitive warmth, scanning the small library with subtle curiosity. He carried a leather satchel filled with notes and letters, each detail reflecting his meticulous yet approachable nature. They exchanged warm greetings, and Clara handed him the manuscript for their next session. The room was quiet except for soft sunlight spilling through tall windows. Midday discussion. They sat across from each other at the library table. Clara's eyes glimmered with careful observation, while Evan's posture was relaxed yet focused. Their discussion flowed from sentence structure to emotional nuance, each word carrying weight, demonstrating the delicate balance between patience and artistic precision. Afternoon walk at the harbor. The two walked along the wooden pier, the waves lapping gently beneath their feet. Clara's cardigan fluttered lightly in the coastal breeze, and Evan's gaze followed her movements with quiet attentiveness. Their conversation drifted to life in Harbor Ridge, small-town observations, and the metaphors found in everyday patience. Evening reflections. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the harbor in shades of lavender and gold, Clara paused at the pier's edge.
Evan's eyes followed her quietly, and the silence between them felt like an unspoken understanding. Patience was not merely waiting, it was embracing the slow unfolding of life. Night at the library. Returning to the library, Clara sat at her desk under the lamplight. The manuscript now rested closed, symbolizing her growth and renewed focus. Outside, the moonlight glimmered on the waves, echoing the quiet rhythm of her emotional journey.
Tides of understanding and quiet connections. Morning reflections. Clara Whitmore woke early, the harbor mist curling softly around the wooden piers outside. She carried the calm she had gained in previous days, and the manuscript felt lighter in her hands, as if the act of patience itself had infused the pages. Evan's mid-morning visit. Evan Porter arrived with a quiet smile, carrying a notebook and letters. His presence was comforting, yet subtly energizing. They exchanged greetings, and Clara noticed the small details, the slight tousle of his sandy blonde hair in the breeze, the warmth in his observant blue eyes. Midday manuscript review. They sat together at the library table, discussing the nuances of Clara's writing. Evan's insights were gentle but precise, pointing out subtleties Clara hadn't noticed. She found herself appreciating not only his guidance, but the calm manner in which he delivered it. Harbor walk and subtle revelations. The two walked along the pier, observing the ebb and flow of the tide. Each wave seemed a reminder of patience, the waiting, and the inevitability of movement. Clara shared small reflections from her life. Evan listened attentively, responding with stories of his own experience, the dialogue rich with understanding. Evening. Cafe by the pier. Later, they paused at a small cafe near the harbor. Warm, golden light from hanging lamps highlighted their features, and they discussed the themes of her manuscript in casual conversation, punctuated by quiet laughter and moments of introspection. Night. Lamplight reflection. Returning to the library, Clara wrote her notes under the lamplight, reflecting on the day's conversations. Moonlight glimmered on the water outside, a quiet reminder of the natural rhythm of patience. Echoes of patience and unexpected insights. Morning contemplation. Clara Whitmore woke to the gentle hum of the Harbor Ridge morning. Sunlight filtered softly through the library windows. The manuscript awaited her, a quiet reminder of her journey in patience and understanding. She sipped tea, observing the harbor mist curling around the piers. Evan Porter arrived mid-morning, carrying a folder of new notes. His blue eyes held warmth and curiosity, and his presence was calm yet subtly energizing. Clara greeted him with a small smile, noting the slight tousle of his sandy blonde hair in the harbor breeze. They sat together at the library table, reviewing sections of the manuscript. Evan's insights were precise yet gentle, highlighting subtleties in Clara's writing. Clara's hazel eyes sparkled with quiet realization and reflection. Their connection deepened, a blend of mentorship and subtle emotional resonance. The two walked along the harbor, discussing life and patience. The ebb and flow of the waves mirrored their dialogue, steady, measured, and meaningful. Clara shared personal reflections. Evan listened attentively, responding with stories from his own life, strengthening their quiet connection. They paused at a small cafe along the pier. The golden light from hanging lamps highlighted their expressions. Laughter and thoughtful conversation intertwined as they discussed the manuscript and subtle life lessons. Patience, Clara realized, was an art found not only in waiting, but in listening, observing, and understanding. Returning to the library, Clara sat under lamplight reviewing notes and reflecting on the day's insights. Moonlight shimmered on the water outside, echoing the quiet rhythm of patience and learning. Moments of revelation and quiet joy. Morning harbor light. Clara Whitmore woke to soft sunlight filtering through the library windows. The harbor was bathed in gold, the water reflecting light in delicate ripples. She sipped tea, reflecting on lessons of patience and the gradual unfolding of understanding.
Evan's mid-morning arrival. Evan Porter arrived carrying a notebook and letters, his blue eyes alert yet warm. His subtle smile and calm demeanor brought a comforting energy to the library, a rhythm that matched Clara's quiet contemplation. Library collaboration. They spent the morning discussing chapters of the manuscript. Evan's insights were precise yet gentle, emphasizing nuances that Clara had not noticed. The conversation was slow and deliberate, each point a small step in understanding patience and subtlety. Afternoon harbor reflections. The two walked along the pier, the harbor breeze gently lifting hair and cardigans. They observed fishermen preparing nets, small boats moving gracefully, and shared thoughts on life, writing, and the beauty of quiet observation. Evening cafe pause. At the small cafe by the harbor, warm light from lamps highlighted their features. They sipped drinks, laughed softly, and discussed the day's observations. Clara felt a quiet joy in shared patience and understanding, a reminder that small moments often carry the deepest meaning. Night returned to library. Clara returned to the library as twilight deepened, moonlight reflecting on the calm harbor. She reviewed her notes, reflecting on Evan's guidance and the day's lessons, a sense of calm fulfillment washing over her. Whispers of insight and quiet courage. Morning library calm. Clara Whitmore arrived at the library just as the first golden rays of morning filtered through the tall windows. Her fingers brushed lightly across the manuscript pages, savoring the quiet rhythm of reading and reflection. The day promised insight, patience, and the subtle unfolding of understanding. Evan's mid-morning arrival. Evan Porter entered carrying a small, leather-bound notebook. His calm blue eyes scanned the library with warm attentiveness. Clara greeted him with a gentle smile, noting the subtle tousle of his sandy blonde hair and the confident, steady aura he always brought with him. Clara greeted him with a gentle smile, noting the subtle tousle of his sandy blonde hair and the confident, steady aura he always brought with him. Morning manuscript work. They spent the morning working together on the manuscript, noting delicate nuances and small insights. Each observation and suggestion was delivered with care and patience, building a quiet rhythm of shared understanding and subtle mentorship. Afternoon harbor reflection. Walking along the pier, Clara and Evan observed the subtle movements of harbor life. The gentle sway of boats, the fishermen preparing nets, and the soft murmur of the waves mirrored the calm, deliberate pace of their conversation. Every detail became a lesson in patience and observation. Evening cafe pause. At a small harbor cafe, they shared tea and notes. Soft lamplight illuminated their faces as they laughed and reflected on small moments of insight. Clara felt the quiet joy of shared patience and understanding, realizing that insight often arrives slowly, with careful observation. Night reflection. Clara returned to the library in the evening. Moonlight shimmered across the calm harbor, illuminating the pages of her manuscript. She reflected on the day's lessons and Evan's guidance, a sense of quiet fulfillment settling over her. Unfolding truths and subtle joy. Morning harbor calm. Clara Whitmore began the day at the library, sunlight spilling gently across the harbor, visible through tall windows. The manuscript lay open before her, pages catching golden light. Clara's fingers traced sentences thoughtfully, each word a step in her journey of patience and insight. Evan arrives with notes. Evan Porter entered carrying a folder of notes and a small sketchbook, his blue eyes focused yet warm. His presence brought a calm energy that matched the quiet rhythm of Clara's reflections. They greeted each other with subtle smiles, the familiarity of shared patience evident. Morning collaboration. They spent the morning reviewing the manuscript. Each suggestion and reflection was delivered with care, attention to subtle details, and the quiet understanding that patience is as much about listening as it is about acting. Afternoon Pier Reflections. Walking along the harbor pier, Clara and Evan observed the gentle movements of boats and fishermen. Conversations were slow, deliberate, full of subtle insights and quiet moments of joy. Each wave mirrored the slow unfolding of understanding between them. Evening Cafe Pause. At a small cafe along the harbor, soft lamplight illuminated their conversation. Clara felt joy in the shared process of insight and understanding. Observing life and reflecting on their work brought a quiet satisfaction, a testament to patience and quiet courage. Night Reflection. Returning to the library, Clara sat at her desk, moonlight glimmering on the harbor outside. She reviewed the day's insights and Evan's guidance, feeling a quiet fulfillment and readiness for the final steps in her journey. Fulfillment, reflection, and quiet joy. Morning Serenity. Clara Whitmore awoke to the soft glow of the harbor sunrise. The library was quiet, still filled with yesterday's lingering warmth. She gently placed her hands on the manuscript, reflecting on the journey, each page a testament to patience, insight, and the slow unfolding of understanding. Clara Whitmore, age early 30s, fair skin with soft, natural warmth, chestnut brown hair loosely pinned in a low bun with gentle strands framing her face, thoughtful hazel eyes, minimal natural makeup, soft beige knitted cardigan over pale blue long-sleeved blouse, slender fingers, calm, reflective expression, relaxed posture, embodying quiet patience and introspective presence, small-town gentleness. Evan arrives for final review. Evan Porter entered carrying a leather-bound folder and small notes. His calm blue eyes, attentive yet warm, met Clara's gaze. Together they shared a quiet acknowledgement, how patience and reflection had brought them here. Evan Porter, age early 40s, fair skin with faint freckles, sandy dark blonde hair slightly tousled by coastal breeze, gentle blue eyes with warmth and attentiveness, clean-shaven face, wearing soft gray tailored blazer over cream shirt, dark brown trousers, slender build, confident yet approachable demeanor, calm posture, gestures thoughtful, emotionally grounded. Morning Collaboration. They spent the morning making small, final adjustments to the manuscript. Every word, every sentence reflected the growth of understanding, the depth of patience, and the subtle joy of seeing ideas unfold. Afternoon Harbor Walk and Reflection. Walking along the pier, they watched the gentle sway of boats and the rhythmic pull of nets in the water. Each movement mirrored the lessons learned throughout their journey: patience, quiet courage, and the beauty of ordinary moments. Evening Cafe Celebration. At the Harbor Cafe, warm lamplight enveloped them. They shared laughter, reflections, and soft acknowledgement of their journey's culmination. The quiet joy of fulfillment and shared understanding filled the air. Night, Harbor and Library Closure. Returning to the library as twilight deepened, Clara reflected on the entire journey. Moonlight glimmered across the calm harbor waters, the manuscript safely in her hands. There was a deep sense of closure, quiet joy, and accomplishment, the perfect culmination of patience, insight, and ordinary courage.